to EduTap and welcome to the Finance 360 Degree session. In today's session, we are going to discuss a very important notification, a very important press release of the RBI that is regarding the authentication rules that is going beyond SMS OTP. Okay, so what are these rules that the RBI has released? What is this new notification that the RBI has released that we are going to discuss? And let me tell you that this direction was mentioned in the RBI notification and this direction was also mentioned in the RBI press release. So it becomes very important from the examination perspective, and as you can see that these directions are being discussed in multiple newspapers, okay, and this is just before the examination, just before your phase 1 of the RBI grade B exam. So this direction is going to be the important. I will tell you the small nitty-gritties in these directions, as well as I will inform you that what kind of question can come from this direction in the examination. Okay, so first we are going to discuss that what are the authentication rules that are going to be, what is the new direction that the RBI has released. Then we will discuss that how the RBI has said that we should go beyond SMS OTP, and these directions are valid from April 2026, but there are some other directions like for the card international transactions that are going to be valid from October 2026. So we will discuss the different important points in this direction. Okay, so good morning everyone, welcome to the session. I hope I'm clearly audible and visible to all of you. Give me a thumbs up if there is no problem in the session and everything is going fine, if everything is fine for all of you. So now before starting with the direction of the Reserve Bank of India, first there is a big offer. There is the Shubh Navratri offers that is going on, and this is valid from 26th September till 28th September 2025, so that you can avail the offer, the best offer out there. Okay, that is from EduTap. We are providing you flat 75% off for the regulatory body courses for the RBI grade B, IFSC grade A, IRDI grade A, NABARD grade A, SEBI grade A, and for the combo courses also there is flat 75% off that is going on, and you can use the code FESTIVAL75. If you are thinking of purchasing the course of EduTap for like the test series, the crash course, or if you want to buy the quick revision batch of the RBI grade B, or you can, if you want to have the combo courses, or if you want to have any other course of any other regulatory body examination, this is the time for you. Here flat 75% off that is going on, you can use the code FESTIVAL75. okay, so this is the idea. Now let's move forward with the direction for today. And here first of all, Reserve Bank of India has released the RBI authentication mechanism for digital payment transactions directions 2025. So let me ask you that when you do a UPI payment, okay, or let's say you are doing the card payment, let's say you are doing the card transaction, you have gone to the Amazon, you want, or Flipkart, and the sale is going on right now, so you have purchased a lot of things, okay, from Amazon or Flipkart, let's say, or Meesho or whatever. You have put your card details, you have put your card details, you have put your card number, the CVV and such, and the date, the end date and such. So this is the first authentication, or this is the first factor. You have put in the details. Now the second authentication is what? Do you get the OTP? Do you get the OTP, or just putting in the card details your transaction is done? Just putting in the card details is your transaction done? No, right? You also have to input the OTP. You also have to put the OTP. Okay, so this is known as two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication. The first factor is the details that you are providing, and the second factor is the OTP for your card transaction. As well as now let's take the UPI case. In the UPI case, if you are entering the Google Pay, usually the PIN of your mobile is being asked, okay, or you put your thumbprint, or the PIN is given for your mobile. PIN is given for entering the Google Pay, or PIN is given for entering the Phone Pay and such. After giving this PIN, when you are doing the transaction, you have to put the password, okay. As well as for net banking also, there is two-factor authentication that happens. That first you are putting in the details of your bank account and such, and then there is also the card details, then also the OTP comes, okay. So this is the two-factor authentication that happens for the digital payments, okay. So right now there is the authentication mechanism for digital payment transactions, and it has been said that we are going to improve, and the RBI has said that RBI is bringing these directions for making the authentication mechanism for the digital payments more enhanced, better. This is the idea. So all digital payment transactions in India, they are required to meet the norm of two factors of authentication. The first factor can be your PIN, can be your password, can be the card details, or the details, account details, Aadhaar card details or such. So can be other details that you are inputting, okay? Or it can be, let's say, some it can be any other thing also, okay? So this is your first factor. Now the second factor is usually the SMS based OTP, the SMS based OTP. So while no specific factor was mandated, so there is no specific first factor or second factor that is mandated, but it has been seen that the first factor is quite random in nature. It can be a PIN, it can be a password, it can be the card details or your Aadhaar card details or the bank account details and such. But the second factor, the digital payment ecosystem has primarily adopted SMS based OTP as the additional factor, as the second factor. So this is the SMS based OTP has become the second factor in case of various payments in the digital payment ecosystem. Now the problem here is that we are doing the various transactions we are doing, and India is moving very fast in the digital payment case. So we want that there should be additional mechanism that, or alternative mechanism that should be there, so that we are not relying too much on the SMS based OTP. SMS based OTP is still viable, it is still safe, but still the fraudsters are trying to find the way to break this SMS based OTP and to get the OTP. So we want that there should be alternative mechanism that should be there for the second factor authentication. Any confusion anyone has in this? So all the digital payment transactions in India, they require to meet the norm of two-factor authentication. The first factor can be your PIN, password, can be the PIN of your mobile phone, can be the card details, Aadhaar card details, or it can be anything. The second factor is usually your SMS based OTP that you get, okay? Now it has been said that for the second factor, for the additional factor, there should be alternative mechanism that should also be provided, or that should also be seen by the payment system providers and such. So this is the basic idea about the direction. So basically, as announced in Statement on Developmental and Regulatory Policies dated February 8, 2024, so it was announced in the Statement on Developmental and Regulatory Policy that in order to enable the payment ecosystem, the digital payment ecosystem, to use the technological advancements for implementing alternative authentication mechanism. So we require the alternative authentication mechanism. So right now there is two-factor authentication, and the additional factor authentication or the second factor authentication has become mostly dependent on the SMS based OTP, which is still viable. But we need to find the alternative mechanism also for the additional factor, for the second factor authentication, okay? So there should be alternative authentication mechanism that we need to have. So there is the technological advancements that are happening, and we need to implement alternative authentication mechanism. So it has been decided to publish the Reserve Bank of India authentication mechanisms for digital payment transaction directions 2025. So now RBI has released these directions, in which it has been mentioned that there are various other factors. There are various other factors of authentication that can be used. So what are these factors of authentication that can be used? What tokens are there and such? So all of this we are going to discuss, okay? This is the idea. Now the direction provide the broad principles, the broad directions which shall be complied with by all the participants in the payment chain while using a form of authentication. Okay, so there are broad directions, broad principles that have been provided. Now these directions are basically applicable only for the domestic digital transactions. So these directions are applicable for the domestic transactions, but there is a particular norm, or there is a particular rule that has been brought for the transactions, for the international transactions that are happening through the card issued in India. Okay, so a particular rule has been brought in the direction. So these directions are mostly for the domestic transactions, domestic digital transactions, but there is a particular rule, there is a special rule that has been brought for the international transactions that are happening through the card issued in India. Okay, so for the international transaction, there is a particular rule for card issued in India. Okay, so for online international transaction basically. So basically this direction is only applicable for domestic transactions, but in order to provide a similar level of safety for online international transaction, there is a special rule that RBI has brought for the online international transaction that is happening through the card issued in India. For that there is a specific instruction that has been provided. So that is all that we have to discuss in today's session. So now the aim is for enhancing for encouraging the introduction of new factors of authentication so that we do not get stuck with the SMS based OTP only, which the fraudsters are trying to break now. So encouraging the introduction of new factor of authentication by using upon technological advancements. The framework, however, does not call for discontinuation of SMS-based OTP. As I have told you that SMS-based OTP is still very much viable. It is still very much easy to have and easy to use. So the direction is nowhere saying that stop this SMS-based OTP. It is just saying that have the additional alternative mechanism also, so that we are not getting stuck with only one mechanism for the second factor authentication or for the additional authentication. Okay, so there is just the additional mechanism that we need to have with this SMS based OTP. That is the idea. Any confusion? Got it? So encouraging introduction of new factors of authentication by using upon technological advancement, and it has been said that now also there will be two-factor authentication. The first factor can be through PIN, the first factor can be any password, or let's say your card details, your Aadhaar details and such. This second factor is usually SMS based OTP. So it has been said that we need to have the additional mechanism, the alternative mechanism, that is that are alternative mechanism of the SMS based OTP. So rather than only using the SMS based OTP, in addition to the SMS based OTP, we can have the other mechanism also as the second factor authentication. Okay, so this is the idea, the whole idea of the article. Now let's understand the points. All payment system providers. So payment system providers in our country are. Can you give me some example of the payment system providers? Can you give me the examples of payment system providers? Any idea? So we are starting with the details. We are starting with the direction. The payment system provider in our country, NPCI, National Payment Corporation of India, provides the UPI, provides for the Aadhaar enabled payment system. So NPCI is a payment system provider, as well as Paytm that provides the wallets. So wallet providers, the digital wallet providers or prepaid payment instrument providers. So prepaid payment instrument providers like the entities that are providing the wallets. Okay, the card networks that are providing for the card transactions, they are the payment system providers. Payment system participants are the banks through which the transactions happen. Payment system participants are also your Google Pay, Phone Pay, such application, Google Pay, Phone Pay, these applications that are using the UPI system. So they are payment system participants that are using the UPI system provided by the NPCI for providing for the transactions to the customers. Okay, so Google Pay, Phone Pay, these are the non-bank participants that provide the applications for usage of UPI. Okay, so I hope it is clear that payment system providers, the payment system providers are like the NPCI that is providing the UPI, that is providing the IMPS also, that also provides the Aadhaar enabled payment system. The card networks that are providing for the card transactions. Okay, card networks like your Visa, MasterCard and such, as well as payment system providers are also the issuers of prepaid payment instruments. Okay, so the issuers of the prepaid payment instruments like the wallets, they are also the payment system providers. They are providing a payment system. Okay, then payment system participants, they are the participants like the banks, non-banks like the Google Pay, Phone Pay that is using the UPI ecosystem. So this is the basic idea. Now, after understanding that who are the payment system providers, who are the payment system participants, so all the payment system providers, all the payment system participants, including banks and non-bank entities, shall ensure compliance with these directions by April 1, 2026 unless indicated otherwise for any specific provision here. So basically all the directions have to be followed unless specifically advised. Okay. Now applicability, so these directions shall be applicable on all the payment system providers, on all the payment system participants. These directions apply to all the domestic digital payment transactions, as I have told you that these directions are mostly for the domestic digital payment transactions. Okay, only one direction or only one norm or one or two norm have been given for the online international transactions. Otherwise, these whole directions are for the domestic digital payment transactions. Now, what are the definitions? So, definitions we have to discuss. So, authentication, I hope you know that authentication means that authenticating, verifying that you are the person who you claim to be. If you claim to be Kritika Sharma and you are doing transaction from the card of Kritika Sharma, you should verify that you are Kritika Sharma. So if I want to do the payment through my own card, I have to verify that I am who that I claim to be. Okay. So authentication, process of validating and confirming the credentials. So authentication is the process of validating and confirming the credentials of the customer who is originating the payment instruction. So basically, I confirm that I am the person who I claim to be. Okay. Next is card not present transaction. So this is the card present transaction. The card is physically present in the merchant location and you are swiping the card is physically present. Card not present means that card is not physically present. You are just inputting the details. Now you can input the details. Let's say you are doing the Amazon payment. Okay, you have bought something from the Amazon and you have to do the card payment. So can the merchant identify that do you have the card, or do you have, like, my mother is living in Uttarakhand, I am living in Haryana area. So even if I do not have my mother's card, she has sent me the details, or let's say I have got the details somehow. I have got the card number, I've got the CVV, I've got the end date. Okay. So if I get the detail, here the card is not present. So in the digital transactions, when the card is not present or the merchant location is not there, okay, so card is not present is this. So card not present transaction, a transaction where the card and acceptance infrastructure are not present in close proximity while making the transaction. Okay, so I'm using the card for the digital transaction where I'm not at the merchant location or the merchant POS machine is not nearby. So I am inputting the details digitally. That is the idea. So here the card is not present. In all the e-commerce websites, when you do the transaction, you are doing the payment through your debit card or credit card. So card is not present, that is considered. Okay. So this is the card not present. Card present means card is physically present at the merchant location and you are swiping the card in front of the merchant. So that is card present transaction. Cross-border card not present transaction. Again, if you are, there is Alibaba website, I guess, or there are various websites, international websites through which you can make a purchase. Okay, through which you can make a purchase. So cross-border card not present transaction, let's say there is an international website through which you are making a purchase. Okay, now here for the international online international transaction through this international website, you are making the purchase and you are paying through your card. Now this is also something like e-commerce website because the merchant is not present in India. It is an international website, international merchant and such. So here the card not present, cross-border card not present transaction is happening. Okay, you are inputting the details. Even if you have the card or do not have the card, you can get the details from your mother, from your father, from your brother, from your friend. Let's say you do not have the card physically, you are just inputting the details. So this is the cross-border card not present transaction, a payment instruction wherein the card issued by an Indian issuer is used for undertaking a payment transaction favoring a merchant acquired by an overseas acquirer. That means this merchant is a overseas merchant, we can say, or overseas entity. For such transaction, outflow of foreign exchange is happening and you are purchasing something from the international website in dollars. You are purchasing the product and you are paying for that product through your card. That is, card is not present at the merchant location and the POS machine is not nearby. You are inputting the details in the digital platform. This is the idea. So cross-border card not present transaction. Then digital payment transaction. Digital payment transaction, that is the transaction that is happening digitally, okay, through your card, through your prepaid payment instrument, through your UPI ecosystem and such. Next is factor of authentication, so that we have to discuss. So authentication means that verifying that you are who you claim to be. So that is what we have to verify. For that we have to do the authentication. Now the authentication can happen through something the user knows, something the user has, or something the user is. So something the user knows means authentication can happen through password, PIN, passphrase. You have set some passphrase, okay, you have set some phrase instead of password, or instead of PIN you have kept some long phrase, okay, that is passphrase. Or you have kept some security questions, like if you have gone to different websites, like they keep some security website, they keep some security question, what is the pet name of your cat, or what is the pet name of your pet and such. So different security questions can be there. So something the user knows, this can be a factor of authentication. This can be a factor of authentication, the password, pin, passphrase, or security question. Something the user has, that is SMS based OTP sent to your phone. So you have the phone, so you will be able to give the OTP. Software token, that is generated through the get verification code with the Google Authenticator. So you can also, rather than using the SMS based OTP sent to your phone, you can also use software token or hardware token. Hardware token like this. This is hardware token. So big businesses that have to do a lot of payments, a lot of digital payments, they can get this hardware token where the token is changing every 30 seconds, every 1 minute. So there is no way that a outside entity will be able to do the fraud, because this is a hardware token that is present in the company, and the token keeps on changing and changing every 30 seconds, every 1 minute. So you can understand that this is very, very safe for the big companies, for the even the micro, small and medium enterprises that do a lot of transactions. Okay, so something the user has, either the phone in which the OTP is being sent, either the software token through the Google Authenticator app of the customer, or the hardware token also the person have through this. Okay, usually I don't think that retail or the customers like you and me, we will not buy this hardware token, but at least the big companies, for making their transactions safer, they can buy this hardware token, or later on maybe we can also get this hardware token if the government provides it at subsidy, okay, for the safer transactions. So something the user is basically means, so something the user is basically the fingerprint face recognition. So whenever like I have to go in my Google Pay now, so either the pin is asked of my mobile or I can give fingerprint. So the first entrance in the Google Pay, so no one will able to enter in my Google Pay or Phone Pay if they do not know the pin of my phone or fingerprint. Any of this one thing is required for entering in the Google Pay. Okay, so you can make it like this, that only the fingerprint will be allowed for entering in the Google Pay or Phone Pay, so it will be more safer. So this is the factor of authentication. The authentication that can be done through something the user knows, something the user has, or something the user is, fingerprint or face recognition. Okay, so factor of authentication, credential of the customer which is used for authentication. So basically we have to do the authentication that the person is who the person claims to be. The factor of authentication can be something the user has, something the user knows, something the user is, and may comprise. So there are examples that are given that what can be the factor of authentication. It can be password, PIN, SMS based OTP, passphrase, PIN, card, hardware, software token. So this can be card details or hardware token or software token, fingerprint, or any other form of biometrics or any other additional things also. Okay, so these are just the examples that is given by the RBI. So card hardware and such, card details and such. So this is the factor of authentication. Now issuer, a bank or non-bank. So who is the issuer? Any confusion anyone has till now? Okay, so issuer is the bank or the non-bank that maintains the customer's account from which payment is made, such as the deposit account or credit. So issuer is the bank or the non-bank which is initiating the payment or which is releasing the payment from the entity. Okay, so issuer bank is the bank. Let's say I want to send, Kritika Sharma want to send the money to XYZ person. Okay, so the money will be released from my account that I have in the issuer bank. So the bank that is releasing the payment from my account, so that is issuer bank. I hope this is clear. So a bank or non-bank that maintains the customer's account from which payment is released, payment is made. So this is the idea. Now coming to the principles for authentication of digital payment transaction. So minimum of 2 factors of authentication. It has been said that 2 factor of authentication will continue. So all digital payment transactions shall be authenticated by at least 2 different factors of authentication. It's not like password and password, PIN and PIN. No, there should be 2 different factors of authentication that should be there. So issuers may at their discretion. So issuers, that is the payment system providers and such, or payment system participants, they at their discretion can offer a choice of authentication factors to their customers. So you can have a choice, like when I enter in the Google Pay, I can either input the PIN or I can give my fingerprint. Okay, so the customers can be provided with the choice of authentication factors. Now one authentication factor can be static, that means it is some PIN or it is some passphrase or it is some unchanging password or something. So one can be static, but the other factor should be dynamic. So at least one of the factors to be dynamic. It shall be ensured that out of the two-factor authentication, out of the two factors, one factor should be dynamic, either the first one or the second one. So it shall be ensured that for digital payment transactions other than card present transactions. So in case of card present transaction, where the card is present at the merchant location, in case of card present transaction, the card is present. So this card present is considered a factor itself. It is considered an authentication mechanism also. So in case of card present, then this direction will not follow. Okay. So basically, at least one of the factors to be dynamic. So basically, when the card is present, when you go to a merchant location and you are buying something, you give the card and you just input the PIN. Do you get the OTP at that time? No, right? So this is the idea that card present is considered the first factor. Okay, and the PIN is considered the second factor. So in this case, card present is static because the card is not changing. The card present, like you have the card, so that is the card present, and the PIN, it is also static. So in case of card present, there is no need for having a dynamic mechanism or dynamic factor. In the card present, this is the first factor. Card present itself is a factor of authentication. Okay, so the card hardware itself is a factor of authentication, and then you provide the PIN, so that is second factor. So this is the idea. So here you can see that at least one of the factors to be dynamic, but this is not true for the card present transaction. So for all the other transaction, at least one of the two factors of authentication should be dynamically created, or they should be unique to that transaction. For example, let's see here. So dynamic factor means it is unique and valid only for a single transaction at that time. It can be a OTP, one-time password. It can be a hardware token, because the token keeps on changing in the hardware device. The token keeps on changing. So hardware token, if you are providing the hardware token, so that is also unique, that is also dynamically created. So software token through the Google Authenticator, or there can be dynamic CVV card. Have you, like in India, I don't think I have seen the dynamic CVV card. The dynamic CVV card basically means that the CVV keeps on changing every few minutes, every 20-30 minutes, okay, or every 60 minutes. So there can be a dynamic CVV card, that is also dynamic factor of authentication. So this is the idea. Any confusion? At least one factor should be dynamic. This is for transactions other than card present transaction. Any confusion here? Coming to the next one, robust, the factor of authentication shall be such that comprise of one factor does not affect reliability of the other. Okay? So robust means the factor of authentication shall be such that comprise of one factor that does not affect reliability of the other. That means the first factor, let's say, is the PIN. And let's say your PIN is released. Let's say your PIN is released to the fraudster, or the fraudster has found the PIN. So the second factor should not be dependent on the first factor. That means the second factor should be unique in itself, so that if the fraudster knows about the first factor, they are not able to crack the second factor. It can be OTP, that of course comes in your mobile with yourself, or it can be a software token that keeps on changing, hardware token that keeps on changing, or it can be dynamic CVV that keeps on changing. Okay, so if first factor is released, at least the second factor should be able to protect the customer. So it should be robust two-factor authentication. The factor of authentication shall be such that if first factor, if one factor is compromised, that does not lead to the compromise of the second factor also. First factor and second factor, they should be unique in, or they should be different in their own manner. Now coming to the next one, that is interoperability or open access. Okay, so first of all, you will get the PDF in the Telegram channel of EduTap. The link for the Telegram channel is provided in the description box below. Continuing with this, interoperability or open access. So system providers or system participants, I have told you the example of system providers and system participants. System providers like NPCI, prepaid payment instrument providers, card networks and such. System participants like the banks, non-banks. So they shall make authentication and tokenization services universally available. Can anyone tell me that what is tokenization? Tokenization. Let's say you are putting the card details in Amazon or Flipkart. So your card details are being stored by Amazon or Flipkart, or you are basically sending your card details to them. So tokenization was initiated by RBI so that rather than storing the card details, you are inputting your card details, so that is converted into token. So that this token is going to the merchants rather than your card details going to the merchant. This token will go to the merchant, that is replacing the card details, so that the merchants are storing the token, that is not releasing your card details to the merchant. So this is the idea. Yes, tokenization basically means your card details being converted into token, and this token will be stored or will be seen to the merchants, so that the merchants are not storing your card details. Okay, this is the idea. Now this token, the merchants will send this token to the bank account, and this token will be converted in the card details by the bank only. So the merchants will not have the access to your card details if you use the tokenization service. Okay, and in many of the cases I have seen that if I am doing the transaction through the e-commerce website, they give the option that do you want to tokenize your card details. So if you just tap yes, your card details are tokenized then and there only. Okay, so basically it has been said that the system participants, system providers, they shall make authentication and tokenization services universally available. So authentication, that is authentication of digital payment, should be universally available, as well as the tokenization also, so that your card details are protected, as well as there is complete authentication that is happening of the digital payment. So that is accessible to all the applications and token requesters. Token requesters, so customer adds card to an app, customer put the yes, that yes, I want to tokenize the card. Then the bank, card network, wallet, or the app, that is the token requester, sends a request to the token service provider so that your card details can be converted into the token. So the customer basically is tapping that yes, I want to tokenize my card, so that my card details are not stored by the merchant. So once you accept that, okay, you want to tokenize the card, the token requester that can be the prepaid payment instrument provider, that is the wallet provider, or any app, it can be Amazon app, Flipkart app, or any other app, or the bank, card network that send the request to convert the card details into token. Okay, so that is the idea. So basically this authentication and tokenization service should be accessible to all the applications or token requesters functioning in that operating environment for all the use cases, channels, or token storage mechanisms. So basically the authentication and the tokenization services should be universally available to all the customers that are sending the application for tokenization, or token requesters that are requesting the token for on behalf of the customer, functioning in the operating environment. Operating environment means that you might be initiating the request, or you might be doing the transaction through your phone, through your computer. That means you are doing the transaction through the Android mechanism, or through the iOS, or through the web browser. Okay, so that is operating environment. The request can be initiated. It's not like that you are using Android. Even I use Android, and right now iPhone is the hot trend, I can say. So for the Android users, for the web browsers, for the iOS users, no user should be left out from the authentication services, from the tokenization services. So whichever is the operating environment, Android, iOS, or web browser, no one should be left out from the authentication and tokenization facility. That is the idea. So for all use cases, for all the channels, let it be Amazon, Flipkart, Meesho, for all the channels, for the different channels, Zomato and such, or token storage mechanism. So this is the basic idea. Basically make interoperability or open access means make the authentication and tokenization universally available, so that all the individuals and people and customers can use it. This is the basic idea. Next is risk-based approach. Any confusion till now? Any confusion? So risk-based approach basically means, let's say you are going to Nepal, okay, or let's say a transaction is initiated on your card. A transaction is initiated on your card from Nepal, and then the transaction is initiated on your card from Bhutan, or let's say the transaction is initiated from your card from Malaysia. So sometimes when the transaction is initiated from your system from so many different places, it can hint to the entities that there might be some fraudsters that are trying to get access to your card details and such. Okay, so there is a risk-based approach in this case. Let's understand this. So basically, issuers may, in line with their internal risk management policies. So card issuers or the issuers of the instruments, in line with their internal risk management policies, identify transactions for evaluation. So there are certain transactions that are taken for evaluation, that are kept under evaluation. See, all the transactions, they are not equally risky. Some are more risky, some are less risky. Okay. So basically, let's say I am in Uttarakhand, I am doing transactions to the local merchants. So it signifies that, okay, the transaction place and the merchants are the local merchants. But if I'm doing transaction, or if a transaction is initiated from Nepal, so that might be a warning signal that maybe some fraudster is trying to use the different location for transaction. Okay, so not all transactions are equally risky, but some are more risky, some are less risky. Payment from a new city or country may trigger extra checks. Sudden large purchase or unusual spending pattern. From the past 3 years, I have only spent, let's say, 50,000 a month, and suddenly from my account, from my net banking and such, there is the initiation of large huge transactions of in lakhs and such. So sudden large purchase or unusual spending patterns, in this also it may trigger extra checks. Okay, new device has been logged in, different browser or unrecognized app. So if a transaction is initiated from such kind of areas, then also additional checks may be triggered. So two-factor authentication, it is present for all the digital transaction, but if the transactions are more risky, in case the payment is from a new city, from a new country, from a new browser, from unrecognized app, and sudden large purchase, in this case additional, even one more additional authentication may arise or additional checks may arise. Even like when you do a large transaction, you get a call from the bank also that is it really you that is initiating this transaction of 5 lakh rupees and such. So you even get the call, that is the additional check that happens when there is unusual activity that is found. So risk-based approach basically means that issuers, card issuers, or the banks or the instrument providers, they should have the internal risk management policies, identify transactions for evaluation against behavioral or contextual parameters, that there is some behavioral change. Suddenly there is a lot of spending that is happening that was not happening in the past 3 to 4 years. Okay, so there is behavioral change or contextual changes or context related payment, context related changes that is happening. That means there is transaction location that is changed, there is the change in the user behavior patterns like spending activities. Suddenly there is a lot of spending that is happening from the account. Okay, device attributes have changed, some new device, some different browser, some unrecognized app, or there is historical transaction profile that has changed. Okay, so if such changes are happening based on the perceived risk associated with the transaction, additional checks can go beyond the two-factor authentication. So a call can come to you on your recognized mobile number, like on my mobile number that is connected with my bank account. A call will come that, okay, is it really you that is initiating the transaction of 5 lakh rupees? I will say, no, I am not initiating this transaction. That means some fraudster is initiating the transaction. Okay, or I will say, yes, I am the one that is initiating the transaction, so kindly allow. So they will allow, otherwise they will stop. Okay, so with the minimum two-factor authentication, there can be additional checks that can be done if there is perceived risk that is associated. So additional checks may be resorted to. Issuers may also explore using DigiLocker as a platform. So the banks or the card issuers and such, they can also use DigiLocker as a platform for notification and confirmation for high-risk transactions. So notification and confirmation can be taken from DigiLocker app of the person. Got it? So this is the idea, that basically for the high risk transactions, use DigiLocker. The issuers can use DigiLocker as a secure platform to notify and confirm. So you will be notified through your DigiLocker app that, okay, there is some transaction that is happening from your bank account, kindly confirm. So either the call, either DigiLocker or any other check there might be. So use DigiLocker as a secure platform to notify and confirm high risk transaction with the customer. Now coming to the last part that we have to discuss. Any confusion? So next is responsibility of the issuer. So an issuer shall ensure the robustness and integrity of the authentication mechanism before deployment. It should not be very easy that the fraudsters break the authentication process and they get the information, they are able to do the fraud. It should not be so hard that the people are not able to understand it. Okay, so the robustness and the integrity of the authentication mechanism, that has to be checked. if any loss is happening because of the non-compliance with the above directions. So let's say there is a loss, if there is any loss that is arising out of transaction effected without complying with these directions. Let's say there is a bank or there is a non-bank entity, that is not using two-factor authentication, or that is using two static factors. Two static factor, are they allowed for authentication? No, there can be one static, but at least one should be dynamic. So if the bank or the non-bank, that are the issuers basically, if they are doing the mistake in the authentication process, that means they have released two-factor authentication through the static mechanism only, while it has been clearly stated in the direction that there should be at least one dynamic factor authentication that should happen. So if there is a mistake that is done by the bank, or if there is a mistake that is done by the payment system provider or payment system participant in initiating the authentication process, so if any loss is happening in the transaction because of the non-compliance with the above directions by the payment system providers or by the payment system participants, then they will have to compensate the customer for their loss in full, without any delay, without any wait. Okay, so this is the idea. So if the payment system providers or the payment system participants, like the banks, non-banks and the entities, if they are the ones that are not following the guidelines, they are not following the directions, and due to that, because two static factor authentication was done and these static codes were broken by the fraudster, and the fraud happened, the transaction of 5 lakh rupees from your account went to some other account of the fraudster. So this kind of loss that you have suffered of 5 lakh will be catered to by the payment system provider or the payment system participant that did not follow the guidelines carefully. Got it? Is this clear point? Is this point clear? So issuers shall ensure adherence to the provisions of Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 also. The data should be protected. Now coming to the cross-border transactions. So as I've told you that these previous directions, they all are applicable only on the digital domestic transactions. There is only one direction or only two norms that are provided for the cross-border transaction. Only these two directions are provided for the cross-border transactions. So till now, whatever directions we have discussed, this is for the domestic transaction, digital domestic transaction till here. Okay, so these are mainly for the domestic transactions. Now coming to the cross-border transaction. So the directions outlined above are not applicable to cross-border digital payment transactions. However, card issuers, that is issuing the card, so bank, you get the card from the ICICI Bank, SDFC Bank, Neo card you get, and such and such. So card issuers that are issuing the card, by October 1, 2026, they have to put in place a mechanism to validate non-recurring, that is not recurring in nature, such payments that are the cross-border card not present payments. So basically, as I have given you the example of the international website through which you want to buy something, and for that you have used your card, but the card not present transaction is happening because you are inputting your card details in the digital platform in the international website for the transaction to be completed. Now it is not recurring in nature, you are just doing it once in a lifetime kind of thing, that I want to have this bag, or I want to have this perfume, or I want to have this product from the international website and such. Okay, so from the international website, let's say from some international website, from Alibaba website and such, that is I think a Chinese website or a US website. Okay, that is the international website. Through that you are buying something. For that you are doing a card not present transaction because merchant location is not nearby, because the POS terminal is not nearby. So you are putting the card details digitally. So that is card not present transaction. In this case, where you are doing an international online transaction where the card is not present, physically, that means you are inputting the card details digitally. In this case particularly, it has been said that there should be authentication that should be raised. That is the idea. Okay, so card issuers shall by October 1, 2026 put in place a mechanism to validate these non-recurring cross-border card not present transactions where request for authentication is raised by an overseas merchant or overseas acquirer. So basically the authentication is going to be done, so that these transactions are being initiated by the one that claims to be the person having the card. Okay. Yes. Next is to ensure compliance. To ensure compliance, card issuers shall register their bank identification numbers with card networks. So to ensure the compliance is happening, the card issuers like the banks, non-banks that are issuing the card, they have to register. So banks, ICICI Bank, SDFC Bank, State Bank of India, PNB Bank, they are the card issuers. The card networks are the RuPay, that is the indigenous card network, Visa, MasterCard, American Express. So there are different card networks. Okay, so card networks are RuPay card network and the Visa, MasterCard. So there are card networks. Card issuers are the ones issuing the card. Okay, so basically to ensure compliance of these direction, card issuers shall register their bank identification number with card networks. Next is further a risk-based mechanism for handling all cross-border card not present transaction shall also be put in place. So if there is any risk-based mechanism that is required, so that should be put in place. So further a risk-based mechanism, like there is a risk-based mechanism or risk-based approach for the domestic transactions. Similarly, such a risk-based mechanism for handling all the cross-border card not present transaction shall be put in place by October 1, 2026. So basically the directions above has stated that for the cross-border card not present transactions that is non-recurring in nature, there should be authentication that should be happening. Okay. Other than that, if there is any additional risk-based mechanism that is required, that should also be done or that should also be put in place by October 1, 2026. Any confusion, anyone? Any confusion? So this is it. Now we have discussed the complete notification for the direction. Now let's discuss the press release. In the press release, it was stated that the Reserve Bank of India has today issued the directions, okay, on 25th September 2025. So RBI has issued draft directions in 2024 and RBI received the feedback on the draft direction and now the final direction has been released. So this is the final direction that we have discussed. Now basically it was said in the press release, that feedback from the public has been examined and suitably incorporated in the final directions. The final directions focus on the following. So these are the areas on which the final directions focus on. So we have discussed the final directions. Now, what are the benefit of these final directions? Let's understand that. So that has been mentioned in the press release. Encouraging introduction of new factors of authentication like the software token, hardware token and such. Okay. So encouraging introduction of new factors of authentication by using upon technological advancement. So basically it is not said that the SMS based OTP should be finished, should not be used, but basically it is said that the additional alternative mechanism should be used. So encouraging the introduction of new factors of authentication by using upon technological advancement. The framework, however, does not call for discontinuation of the SMS based OTP. SMS based OTP should continue, but we have to encourage the usage and the introduction of new factors of authentication also. The new factors of authentication should be introduced. Now, enabling users to adopt additional risk-based check, as it has been said that there should be risk-based approach that should be followed, risk-based check that should be done. So through these new direction, it has been notified that there should be additional risk-based check beyond the minimum 2-factor authentication that should be done based on the fraud risk perception of the underlying transaction. Facilitating interoperability and open access to technology. Here we have discussed that there should be interoperability and open access. So fair access, universal access or universal availability should be there of the authentication or tokenization. So there should be seamless user experience. So there should be interoperability that we discussed, that there should be interoperability or open access. So there should be universal availability that has to be provided of the authentication and tokenization. So from any operating environment, from your Android phone, from your web browser, from your iOS phone, from wherever the authentication request or the tokenization request is generating, the universal access or availability has to be provided for authentication or tokenization. So there should be facilitation of the interoperability and open access to technology. Delineating the responsibility of issuers. So there is the responsibility of issuers, prepaid, the payment system providers as well as payment system participants. So payment system providers and payment system participants, they are the ones that are responsible for doing the authentication, for doing the two-factor authentication. And the guidelines, the directions have been given that has to be followed. If the directions are not being followed, it is the mistake of the payment system participant or payment system providers. So they should be liable, they should be paying for any loss that happens because of their non-compliance of these directions. So they have to bear the compensation. Okay, so basically the responsibility is on the issuers for the authentication, for having the two-factor authentication. Okay, mandating the card issuers to validate additional factor authentication. So card issuer in the cross-border transaction, we have discussed that the card issuers, they should validate additional factor authentication in non-recurring cross-border card not present transaction whenever such a request is raised by the overseas merchant. So overseas merchant, that is international website, this is requesting money. So international website, so basically if the international website, that is Alibaba, let's say, it is raising the request to release the money from the customer because the customer has requested some product. Okay, the customer has given digital card details, that means card not present transaction is happening, and the customer is doing this kind of transaction once a time kind of thing. So international website has raised the request to deduct the money from the customer's account and to send the money to this website's account or this owner's account. Okay, so basically customer is raising the request to get the product, so customer wants the product, customer has given its card details, digital card details, and the international website is now raising the request to get the money. So in this case where the request is raised to get the money from the by the overseas merchant or overseas acquirer, they are raising the request to get the money for the transaction. So in this case there should be additional factor authentication. So mandating card issuers to validate the additional factor authentication in non-recurring cross-border card not present transaction whenever there is the international online transaction that is happening, where a request is being raised to get the money, because the money is going where the money is going to the international website or to the international entity, the money is going to the overseas merchant or overseas acquirer, the money is going. So they are raising the request to get the money. Okay, that we want the money because we have to do the transaction. Okay, this is the idea. These directions shall apply from April 1, 2026. Just this cross-border direction will apply from October 1, 2026. Remember this. Any confusion? Any confusion anyone has? I hope everything is clear. So this is the first question. I hope you will be easily able to answer this question. Okay, so this is the question. Try to answer this question. Which of the following statement is correct? That you have to answer. So do answer in the comment section below. Okay. Chalo. This is the next question, that is regarding your card not present transaction that is happening for cross border. So this is the question that you have to answer. Now, as I've told you that there is Shubh Navratri offers that is going on, and for your RBI grade B or for your regulatory courses of regulatory body courses, you are getting flat 75% off. You can use the code festival 75. Okay, and the validity is till 28 September 2025. So if you are thinking of buying the course, this is the time for you. Do not delay it further. Okay, because the this is the validity. The validity is ending on 28th September 2025. Okay, so this is it. Thank you very much, and you will get the PDF in the Telegram channel of EduTap. So in the Telegram channel, you will get the PDF, and the link for the Telegram channel is provided in the description box below. Okay, so this is it. Thank you everyone. Do give the right answer of the homework questions. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you for joining.